I'm very pleased to introduce Marco Martinelli, Giovanna Di Martino, and online Dave Carey. Dave, I hope you can hear us.
Very good, very clear.
That's wonderful. So this is an in conversation event that follows on from a very successful performance of Aristophanes' Peace at Chickenshed Theatre last week. For those of us who could not be there, I understand there will be some clips from the production to give us a sense of what was involved, but it will also be an opportunity for us to hear more about the context within which that production took shape and the wider artistic and cultural circumstances that made it possible. So if I introduce very briefly Marco, Giovanna, and Dave, and then I will hand over to Giovanna. I will start maybe from Dave. Dave Carey has been working with Chickenshed, an inclusive theatre company, for most of its 50-year-old trajectory. I think he has been behind much, if not most, of Chickenshed's professional output. Then in person we have Marco Martinelli, co-founder of Teatro, delle, Albe, who has been running community theatre projects in Italy, but also in France and the UK, involving amateur actors, school children, and young adults. And Dave and Marco will be in conversation with Giovanna, who is a Leventis Research Fellow in Ancient Greek Literature at University College London and Research Associate at the APGRD. So without further ado, I hand over to Giovanna.
Thank you very much for this kind introduction. And I would like to start with two questions about both Chickenshed and Teatro, delle, Albe. So I want to start with Dave, with Chickenshed. To set off for our discussion, if you could share with us the background story of Chickenshed. We'd love to hear about its origins, the vision behind it, and some of the key projects that have shaped its identity since its very beginnings. And I know you have lots to talk about, and over to you.
Thank you, Giovanna. So Chickenshed, yes, unfortunately, it is most of my adult life working there now. We started 50 years ago, really as a company that wanted to access performing arts to young people, but not in the traditional way of doing amateur dramatic musicals. We wanted to devise our own work and wanted the young people to be a key part of devising that work. I think probably over the first few years we were in and out of different church halls. The name Chickenshed comes from the fact that our first official home was a disused barn that once housed chickens. And it became known, the young people would come on a Sunday morning and say, we're going up the Chickenshed. And it very much, the name just stuck. In about 1981, I think, is the key beginnings for us, when a boy of disability walked through the door to a workshop. And this is back in the early 1980s, late 70s, early 80s, and our concept was always, we wanted theatre to be for everyone. But there wasn't really a general agreement as to who everyone consisted of, because within the education system, within after-school provision, there was so much separation. And if you were the parent of two children, one of whom happened to have a disability, not only did you have to take them to separate schools, but after school you had to take them to separate activities, and there was nowhere where siblings could be together. And it all seemed to us a kind of a random kind of line in the dirt as to, if you're mainstream, you need to be over there, and if you're special educational needs, you need to be somewhere else. So we really started working together initially to connect those two communities. We were very interested in bringing together different lived experiences, different stories. We were essentially, I suppose, we're in quite a wealthy middle class part of North London. And of course, the only stories and experiences we were getting were essentially white middle class stories. So we were very interested to start diversifying our company to the stage where we actually genuinely represented our community. If we were going to go and perform in a school in Tottenham, on the estates of Tottenham, we really wanted anyone sat in that school to be able to see themselves on stage, to see themselves represented. And that became a really, I suppose, the core driving force for us, was wanting to genuinely access performing arts to the whole community. And that in itself produced all kinds of problems, as we had to go out and find people quite often, because I think quite a lot of people excluded themselves because they felt it wasn't an activity for them. And they excluded themselves on all kinds of, for all kinds of reasoning. Disability and mainstream being one of them, but socioeconomic backgrounds, cultural backgrounds. And we really wanted to create a world where everyone could come together, be their authentic selves, and bring their own lived experience and their own stories, because that really enriched our theatre making, enriched our projects, enriched our performances. In the mid-1990s, we were very fortunate to fundraise substantially with some support from the National Lottery to have our own building created, where Marco spent last week with the team from Teatro delle, and our team from Chickenshed. And it's an extraordinary building that really does allow us to bring the community together and work together in a positive way. And it's a very vibrant, full of life building, but full of all kinds of life. And I think Marco described it's the humanity of the building, and that for us is what we always set out to establish. And it's an ongoing journey, because the rules of inclusion, if you like, the way that we engage with different people and people with differences, is a constantly changing and morphing landscape. I suppose key productions for us would be around about 1990. We decided we wanted to do something involving school children from all over London. And so we rather, I suppose, naively, we booked the Albert Hall and brought together 1,000 children from all over London boroughs to perform a musical that we created with them about Anansi the Spider-Man, the Nigerian folk stories. And that sort of set us off onto one of our many journeys to kind of be out in working in schools, developing outreach and engaging in that way. The theatre itself, we now have about 700 members that come after school for an hour and a half's activity every week. And then we have about 180 students that study full-time with us, doing year 12, 13, A-level or BTEC qualifications into foundation degree and into a final BA top-up year. We have an extensive outreach team that goes into schools, creating performances around gang violence and knife crime. We do projects in primary schools about transition into secondary school. We have a very vibrant community for senior citizens that want to re-engage with drama and theatre and music making and dance. I think that's just a snapshot of it. It's a very complex building, but I think the more complex we get, the more exciting the possibilities are for us. And we're looking forward to the next 50 years, although I'm probably going to retire.
Thank you so much, Dave. Yeah, it's wonderful. We've all, when we were there, so we're there the whole of last week, and every day there was a different community coming in, and it was really interesting for us, and yeah, it was great for us to see the liveliness of Chickenshed as a building, the humanity, as Marco said, of the building itself. So I wanna ask you, Marco, And just so you know, we're going to do a bit of a back and forth in terms of languages, Marco and I. So just bear with us as we go through this Babel. Marco, if you could provide us with an overview of Teatro delle Albe and the theatre company that Marco founded with Giovanna Montanari, and its background, but also if you could highlight again some of the main projects that sort of illustrate the type of theatre that you have done for the past 30 years, and with the workshops with young adults, but at the same time also the work that you've done as a theatre company with Giovanna, the projects that you've done. So yeah, over to you.
Sorry for my English. Is not good, but Giovanna, Fiona, they would like I try to speak English, so I try, and Giovanna helped me. Quindi come abbiamo iniziato? I married Giovanna Montanari, the woman of my young age, and she is my woman, my wife again. And we began when we were 20 to assist. We didn't know about theater, about life. At 20, it's not possible to know the life, the theater. 20, you have only fire, the heart. So we began doing theater in this way. We ran away from home because our parents didn't want. We play theater, but we ran away, and we began doing theater. We began from 40 years ago, long time ago. We began in two different paths. One way, yes, to stay, to live on the stage for months, to create our work, to search beauty, the mystery of beauty. In the past, the beauty for the heart was the goddess. Today, I don't know. Today is very different, but I think that beauty and all the mystery in it is our goal, like artists, like men and women of theater. And in the same time, the other path was to work with humanity, with young people, with citizens, to create a link between art and humanity. And our model, were the Greeks. You know, in ancient Athens, Aristophanes, Aeschylus, Euripides, they work with the citizens to create the chorus. The chorus, they were not professional actors, they are citizens. It was normal that one great artist like Aristophanes worked every day with the citizens of his town, his loved town, Athens. But it's the same thing, Mayakovsky, Vladimir Mayakovsky, the Russian poet in the times of revolution, made the same thing. He worked, he wrote the poems, but he worked with the citizens of the revolution. This cortocircuito, this link is explosive for me. In the ages of history theater, this theater, il teatro muore, the theater dies if it stay nella sua gabbia, no?
Within the confines of its cage.
It's a death. Only theater can live if it goes away, it goes to the people. Se perde sangue,
if it loses blood.
Okay, together.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you. Yeah.
Non ho detto delle castronerie.
I didn't say anything wrong.
Giusto.
Yeah, so my second question again is to both of you, because this talk is titled Inclusive Theatre and Community Building. And Pantelis, when he introduced also the kind of work that you do, use the word community theatre, and the way that you also describe some of the work that you've done with young adults has been to build a community with them through the chorus. So if you could talk a bit about that, and Dave, if you could talk about again what inclusive theatre means to you and how it shapes the theatre and the community and the communities that are Chickenshed, but also how it can shape the future of the theatre as we know it in London, in the UK, and hopefully out beyond the UK. So yeah, if you want to take the question, yeah, Dave.
Did I start?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's a big question. That's a huge question. I think community or inclusive theatre for us, for Chickenshed, is whatever it needs to be at the time for the people that are in the space. It's so based on who is in the room and who the participants are, and that's, I suppose, that's our first stepping stone towards building a community. You can't build a community unless everyone feels they're a valued and intrinsic part of what's happening in the room. And I think so often inclusion, as it's broadly known as a title, it becomes a box ticking exercise of just making sure you've got some diversity in the room. And for us, it's always been about how we move past that, how the component parts of the room genuinely come together to create something new. And Marco talks about the mystery of beauty, and that's it 100% for us. It's about exploring the mystery of the beauty of humanity. And once you start having different perspectives, once you start having different lived experience, different stories, then we can really begin to build a community based on people's truths and people's authentic selves. And that is really, I suppose, what's so core to our work and what's vital to our work in many ways, is to make sure that we're constantly aware of the voices we've got in the room. Is everyone in the room? And when they're in there, how we as practitioners, much like Marco, I work in that way, that I'm doing a combination of enabling storytelling from within our community, but also then as a practitioner being the professional in the room to help those stories be shaped. It's always, I suppose, a thin line between how much is putting our artistic expectation on the participants and how much is letting them lead us. I think for a lot of our work and our community-based theatre and inclusive work, it's about the participants leading it, which is not to say that you hand it all over to them and say, get on with it. It's about how we draw those voices out, how we draw that experience out, and how we bring that together as a cohesive piece of storytelling or presentation, performance, dance, whatever. So it's very much for us, it's community and inclusive theatre is something about who's in the room, who is that community, and how do we bring that community together, create the right space where people can feel they can enter the room. And that's not easy for some people. Last week we had students that didn't enter the room because they weren't ready for that space yet. And we know with some of those kids are at the beginning of a journey, and it might be a year, 18 months before they're in the room participating fully. But these are all the steps, and we can't exclude people because they're not fitting into our boxes of what they should be doing in a rehearsal space. We have to adapt our thinking, our space, and our processes to make sure that everyone is engaged genuinely and a part of the story.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Dave. Yeah, Marco?
Sulla community Ho già detto.
Dave has already said it all.
Yes. I would like to tell only one thing. I don't know in England, but in Italy, people called theater with capital letter T, no? The theater in the great theaters. In London, Coronet or Wisdom or so on. And then there is in Italy, they didn't say community theater, but social theater. This is the definition. When you go in the slum or in the prisons and so on, to work, to play with citizens of every age, the kids and I don't like this division. I don't like the definition of social theater because, you know, non è giusto, it's not right. You have the theater with capital letter, yes, the art, okay. No? In great theater in which per entrare tu devi pagare molto.
Which you have to pay a lot of money to get in.
Yes.
And he went to see Oedipus last week.
Sì, cioè, there is a relation between great art and great money, okay? And là, philanthropy, and là, and
the rest is just philanthropic work, outreach.
No, I said about Italians, not no, is a kind of racism. They create a distinction very, very wrong, because the theater with the capital letter T is only one kind of theater, living theater. When you see living theater, you can stay in Chickenshed or in Wisdom. No, this is not the difference. But Peter Brook, a great English man of theater, said this thing 40 years ago. The real distinction is living theater or dead theater. This is. And the Greek in ancient times, they called Dionysus this difference. Dionysus, you know, is a god of theater. Friedrich Nietzsche said that Dionysus is the little word presa a prestito dai Greci.
That we borrowed from the Greeks.
Okay, to say what? To say this fundamental, essential distinction. Life and death. Life and boring, no? If you, se ti annoia teatro,
if you get bored in a theatre,
non c'è Dioniso.
It means that there's no Dionysus.
E non c'è teatro.
There's no theatre.
Non c'è musica.
There's no music.
Se lo spettatore a teatro non si muove,
if the spectator is not moved in the theatre,
ma resta lì e dorme,
but if you know,
e non c'è Dioniso.
that it means there's no Dionysus,
Non c'è teatro,
there's no theatre,
non c'è musica.
there's no music.
Allora, is this the mystery of beauty?
This is the mystery of beauty.
But the mystery of beauty is our life. In our life we search Dionysus, we search something che ci fa battere il cuore.
That can make our hearts beat again.
Se il teatro non è all'altezza di questo battere del cuore,
if it doesn't live up to this heart beating,
può morire.
Then it can die.
Can die. In a world of computer, of social network and so on, che ce ne facciamo del teatro? Cosa ce ne facciamo del teatro? No, prova a dirlo in inglese.
Yeah, sorry. Let me do it.
Why?
What do we make? Why resort to theatre at all if it's not this sort of living thing?
Theatre is love. Theatre is happiness. Theatre is joy of our living flesh. Only this. In a Chickenshed, like in Coronet, like in every theater in the world.
Perhaps one of the things that you could add is the way that you've done theatre in Ravenna, la chiamata pubblica.
La public call.
Yeah.
Yes, because in our town, Ravenna, a little town near Venice, we in the last years we made the Divine Comedy, you know, Divine Comedy by Dante Alighieri, the ancient national poem in Italian culture. A great poem, and me and Hermana, we said, how is possible to Divine Comedy is like Mahabharata, is like Odyssea e Iliade, a great ancient poem, not a text for the theater, like Hamlet or the Shakespeare plays. So how is possible to play this wonderful, long, very long poem? So we thought, ne abbiamo pensato, to make Divine Comedy like a mystery of Middle Age. You know, in the Middle Age, the artist worked with all the town, but thousands of citizens.
So to use the medieval way of doing theatre, sacra rappresentazione.
Yes, the mystery or no, the mystery sacra rappresentazione.
The sacred,
yes.
The sacred way, it was called a sacra rappresentazione, which translates into sacred performing arts, and it was the medieval way in Italy, medieval way of doing theatre. So with thousands and thousands of people.
You know, in the Middle Age, mystery are about the life of Christ, or the saints. But Mayakovsky, our loved Russian poet, 7 centuries after, he made the same thing about the history of revolution with a lot of people, a lot of citizens. They play together. So public call in Ravenna was, dear citizens, would you like to play Dante Alighieri with us? And we hope that someone arrive because
they were never sure how many people would turn up, but they invited the whole of the community, the whole of the Ravenna community to be part of the play.
And they arrived the first day, 500.
500 people.
500 people with us to ask to us, and now what
shall we do? What do you want us to do now?
The first step, you are here, we are together. This is the first step, and now step by step we work together. And siamo arrivati a più di 1000 cittadini.
We've gone up to more than 1,000 participants.
Che facevano con noi tutte le sere la Divina Commedia, cioè eravamo più noi attori che non gli spettatori.
Who would work with us every night and do the performance every night. So every night when the performance was on, when the show was on, it was more people acting than spectating.
E lo spettacolo si svolgeva in vari luoghi della città, non solo dentro al teatro, ma nelle piazze, nelle strade.
The performance was itinerant, so it would move from place to place, and every place had a meaning in relation to the performance.
Quindi next time,
Dave, in Chickenshed, you have to do this kind of moving around.
500 people.
500, 1,000.
Yes.
Days, I don't know.
Count my tails, you suggesting.
I don't know. It's only an idea.
So I asked both Dave and Marco if we could get if we could see a few minutes from a production at Chickenshed and one production that Marco led with young adults to have a sense, to have an idea. I'm going to show a few clips from last week's workshops as well, but to have an idea of how everything that you've told us, Dave, sort of translates on the stage. And yeah, so if you could show us and tell us a bit about the production that you'd be showing, yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, certainly. I'm going to show something which is kind of not typical of our work, but I think it sums up who we aspire to be. We do so many different kinds of projects, from very serious issue-based theatre to kind of cabaret style performances. We always think that at the essence of our work, and I think Marco says this about the beauty and for us, it's about the joy of what inclusion can be and the sense of possibility. So I'm going to be slightly cheeky. This is from a TV appearance that we made on Britain's Got Talent, which sounds like the antithesis of what community theatre should be, but it's also exactly what community theatre should be for us, which is, but in a non-judgmental world. I'm just going to share this, and I think it's just joyful, and it really sums up who our community is. So I hope this is all going to work. Can you see that?
Energy around me, sometimes I slip up and it feels like I'm drowning, but the power's inside of me, it's coursing through my veins. I got a shot and you're wrong if you doubt me. Forget the drama cause I had a little setback, fighting with the power so I had to get some get back. Yeah, roll with a chip on my shoulder, had something to prove on my mind, got older. Turn up the ways just to watch us fall, people be around and you already know. Yeah, I treat it like water cause I got my brother, we gave him the garden, but now I'm my mother.
Smile, can you?
Yeah, I know.
It's like it's contagious. Go tell your neighbors, just reach out and pass it on. Ooh yeah. It's like it's contagious. Go tell your neighbors, just reach out and pass it on. It's like it's contagious. Go tell your neighbors, just reach out and pass it on.
Thank you, babe.
Don't need that bit. Anyway, yes. So that was us. I wanted to show that because it's not typical of our work, but I don't think any of our work is typical because we're always reinventing and trying to push new boundaries. And that was what seems like a very commercial, professional, slick presentation, but it's that sense of community coming together for us that's the important part.
Thank you. Thanks, Dave. Thank you. Do we want to show something? So this is from Birds, Aristophanes' Birds in Pompeii in 2022, correct?
Yes.
2022. I just want to show you a few minutes to give you an idea of what Marco does with young adults in the big theatre in terms of like how he deals with the ancient text. And one of the things that he does is he works with a chorus, or he aims at creating a chorus with the performers in the room. The other bit that I wanted to show you is here.
E se non ci sarete a sentire, partirà da cielo uno stormo di cornacchie per beccare tutti i vostri campi. I corvi caveranno gli occhi ai bui e poi si lancerà contro la nostra arma segreta. I piccioni! I piccioni? Sì, i piccioni che caveranno in testa a tutti quanti voi. A cazzimma! A cazzimma! Soprattutto a te!
I mean, this is a very short clip, but maybe one you want to comment on that, on faith. Wait, comment on that.
No, but you know Pompeii? You know the great. So the new director of Pompeii, Gabriel Zuchtriegel, German director, not artist, cioè direttore general director. Okay, he saw that in Pompeii they went only Japanese, American, Milanese, cioè Italian from Milan, but all the people around Pompeii doesn't enter in Pompeii, doesn't know that there is this wonderful treasure of ancient art. So when Gabriel Zuchtriegel saw a movie that I think che ho girato a Nairobi.
That I made in Nairobi.
In Nairobi, in a slum of Nairobi, I played Divine Comedy with
150
kids and adolescents che non sapevano nulla.
from very early age, kids to teenagers who didn't know anything obviously
about Dante Alighieri, about Italy too. When Gabriel Zuchtriegel saw this movie, he called me and he said, Marco, please, can you come here in Pompeii and to work, to play with the adolescent of this area, because I would like that they enter and they feel the ancient art. So you have seen the major Roman theater in Pompeii. Ci stanno 1500 spettatori.
So there's about 1,500 spectators in that.
E quegli adolescenti che avete visto recitare lì,
And the teenagers you saw performing
non erano mai entrati a
had
Pompeii
never entered that theatre before,
e sono entrati dalla porta principale.
and they entered from the main door.
Cioè, si sono trovati nel teatro romano
They found themselves in this amazing Roman
a
theatre,
recitare davanti a 1500 spettatori.
performing in front of 1,500 spectators.
E poi lo spettacolo ha vinto dei premi, è stato richiesto anche in altri teatri.
And then it was greatly awarded, and it was called in different theatres. So they were, you had a tournée, right? You had a.
Perché? Because my goal in this situation is to link the dead and the living people. Aristophanes with the great beauty of his text, and the adolescent, gli asini, che non sanno nulla, non vanno neanche bene a scuola.
And everybody, all the young adults who don't know anything about theatre, don't know anything about Aristophanes, don't know, and all these people, they lived nearby, so it's not like they never entered Pompeii because they were living very far away, but it's because it meant nothing to them.
Ma nel momento in cui tu lavori con questi adolescenti prendendo l'antica sapienza del coro,
But when you start working with young adults, taking from the chorus, from this idea, this powerful idea of the
e il
chorus,
coro sono tre cose:
there's three things:
poesia,
poetry,
musica
music,
e movimento.
and movement,
Movimento danza.
dance and movement.
Il coro ce l'hai quando hai tutte e tre queste cose insieme.
That's when you have a chorus.
E il coro è lo specchio, the chorus is the mirror of the polis, of the city. If we lose the secret of the chorus, we lose the secret of theater. And I think even the secret of the politics art. La politica e il teatro sono legati.
Politics and art are very much related.
La grande crisi della politica che viviamo ovunque
And the big crisis that we're living now in politics
in Occidente
in the Western world
fa sì che anche il teatro e le arti siano in crisi,
has made it such that even in the arts we have a big crisis.
perché stiamo sempre più perdendo il senso del noi.
Because we're more and more losing the sense of a community, the sense of
Siamo sempre più chiusi nelle prigioni dei nostri iPhone.
more and more kind of closed off to the world and within our own kind of screens and iPhones.
E stiamo perdendo il senso della nostra umile, gloriosa carne.
And
Questa cosa qua.
we've lost touch with our body, with our
This.
flesh, body and flesh.
This is the base of politics, of theater, of every kind of humanity.
If I may, I have maybe I have 5 minutes left. Yeah. I'd like to show a few minutes from last week's workshop as representative of what we've been talking about: inclusive theatre, community building, and the ways. I think the amazing encounter that we've had last week between Marco and Chickenshed. And I think it was really successful, and yeah, I just want to show you a few minutes. So for anybody who is not familiar with the play, Tragius, who is this guy over here, Sean, is speaking with Hermes, the messenger of the gods, and Hermes is showing him how destructive the gods of war can be. So this is the part of the play where Polymos, the god of war, and his little helpers, there's one in the play, but we've made it look like there's a lot more than one. There's a whole chorus of helpers, war helpers, get into the theatre and get on the stage, and they frighten both Tragius and Hermes, and show how destructive they are to humanity, and how they want to erase humanity from Earth.
Do you see that there? Do you see all of humanity before you? Well, we're sick of it. We are sick of the bombing, the killing, the raiding. We figured, since you all seem to love fighting so much, we should just go and leave war and his lovely little helpers in charge. And it serves you right.
That does sound familiar.
I doubt you'll ever see peace again, my friend. War has imprisoned her in a cave somewhere deep in these mountains. It's piled high with rocks and stones so that it'll be hard, impossible to get her out. Wait. The gods of war are coming!
What are they going to do to us?
Nothing good. Come on, hide over there. Quickly.
No one knew the pain I've been through. Blood on my hands, man, I felt so blue.
No one knew the pain I've been through. Blood on my hands, man, I felt so blue. No one knew the pain I've been through. Blood on my hands, man, I felt so blue. No one knew the pain I've been through. Blood on my hands, man, I felt so blue. No one knew the pain I've been through. Blood on my hands, man, I felt so blue. No one knew the pain I've been through. Blood on my hands, man, I felt so blue. No one knew the pain I've been through. Blood on my hands, man, I felt so blue. To the war! To victory! Look down, look down, look how they kill themselves. Look down, look down, look at the blood they shed. Look down, peace shall not be found. Look down, Greece has fallen down. To war, to victory!
Fire and war, burn them to the core. No time to run, go get your gun. Fire and war, burn them to the core. No time to run, go get your gun. Fire and war, burn them to the core. No time to run, go get your gun. To war, to victory!
There is war in all of us. We are war, and war is us. There is war in all of us. We are war, and war is us. Gods of war, breathe death once more. Leave them scarred, Perseus only. Gods of war, breathe death once more. Leave them scarred, Perseus only. Gods of war, breathe death once more. Leave them scarred, Perseus only. Gods of war, breathe death once more. Leave them scarred, Perseus only. Gods of war, breathe death. And this was the exit from the stage, and I think it exemplifies the way that we've been working with them, because they came up with that. So we put them in 4 different groups. Yeah, we put them in 4 different groups, and we told them, so they knew about the story of what Peace was about, the play that we were doing, and we told them this is when the gods of war, they want to destroy humanity. So this needs to be a very destructive kind of chorus. So you can find the rhythm, you can find the words, you can find the sort of the movements that you'd like to accompany the poetry and music with, and they came up with that in an hour. So it was, and then we choreographed and
per arrivare a quell'armonia.
yeah, and then we choreographed and we polished, but it was coming from them. So this is I think the perfect combination of Chickenshed and the way that we worked last week. So thank you.